this is Raven. I'm going live on all my Pampered Chef sites for the very first time. So if you're watching, you're either on my profile, my VIP group, or my Pampered Chef business page. So welcome. And this is my very first live video that I'm doing like this. And I wanted today to talk to you guys about cast iron. And so I've had a glass cooking top for a very long time because I really like it. Well, the only thing I would like better would be a gas cooking top because it's really better. But between between glass and electric, I definitely prefer the glass. So when I first got my first glass cooking top, one of the things that I was told by a lot of people is you can't use cast iron on it. And I kind of lived by that rule for a long time. But I adore cooking on cast iron. So I have been using this one here. This is my favorite pot. This is our cast iron Dutch oven. And I use this in most of my cooking, pretty much every day. This one and the enameled cast iron skillet, I also use that. But I also have these here. And these I've basically been using them just when they go in the oven or whenever I'm not cooking on the cooktop. And because I've been afraid of, is it going to scratch? You know, what is it going to do? So I decided to do some research on it because that's my default. When I don't know something, I go look it up. So here's what I found out. So first of all, you can use this in a cooktop, but there's some things you need to take into consideration. Number one is weight. So a cast iron pan is going to be between 10 and 12 pounds, which is going to be a lot heavier than your average skillet, which is going to be normally up to 4 pounds. And then there's going to be food on top of it. So you have to be really careful. Now, the cast iron can scratch your cooktop. So, but if you're careful, that won't happen. So the first thing you don't want to do is rub it around like this on the cooktop, because it will scratch the glass on the top, and you don't want that to happen. If the glass gets scratched, or if there's like big deep divots in it, what ends up happening is that it starts losing integrity, and you run more of a risk of it breaking at some point. So that's number one. If you're not using a Pampered Chef cast iron piece, if you're using another piece, you may run the risk. Sometimes cast iron will develop like little divots and little things. Pampered Chef is not going to have that problem because there's no seams down here. But if you have one that has a seam, on that seam, eventually it's going to start developing little things. And so as you start moving that around, it is going to start scratching your cooktop. So you definitely don't want to be doing that. If you have the Pampered Chef one, you don't have to worry about the divots and all of that. But if you don't have it, if you have a regular one, you can use it still. Just be very careful. Now, the other thing is when it's cast iron, one of the nice things about it is it goes from the oven to the cooktop, right? So if you're cooking in the oven can get very hot, 500 degrees, sometimes even hotter than that. And you pull it out, you do not want to take this cast iron piece and put it directly on your glass cooktop, which is kind of what we're all used to doing. So you want to make sure you have a trivet or a towel or something, because one of the things that I did not know is the cast iron, when it's really, really hot and it's not enameled, it can actually scorch the glass. And you can end up with these marks on the glass that, it basically melts part of the glass. So when you take it out, make sure you either put it on a countertop if you have a stone countertop, or you can put it on a towel or a trivet or anything like that. Now, if you're concerned about cooking with the cast iron, you're like, well, I'm still nervous. I still want to use cast iron, but I'm still nervous. I'm going to scratch something or do something wrong. Then what you can do is you can buy a heat guard. And I'm going to put, as a reply to this video, a link to Amazon where you can get one. And essentially what that is, it's a mat that's going to fit on top of your burner, and you can put your cast iron on top of it. And it provides a barrier between your cast iron and your oven so that if you move it around, it's not going to scratch or anything like that. Things to keep in mind about the barrier is, number one, it adds an additional layer. It's still going to cook evenly like normal cast iron does. It's still going to have all the beautiful things that cast iron has, but what's going to happen is you're going to have to turn up the heat a little bit. So if you're cooking something, let's say on a 5 or a 6, if you put the barrier down, you may need to cook it on a 7. And so the barrier can also be used as a trivet when you're pulling something out of the oven. So those are some things to keep in mind. Now, if you're cooking with enameled cast iron like this, you don't have to worry about it really scratching, but you do have to worry about the weight. So the number one reason where people destroy their cooktops, if it's glass, is they drop the pan on top of it. Once again, especially when you're talking about a Dutch oven, that is going to be much, much heavier than a regular cast iron skillet. So you don't want to drop it, especially if you have something that's full of food. You don't want to just grab it, run the risk of that happening. So that's basically the skinny about using cast iron. If you have a glass top, you can still use it. You can still make delicious meals with it. You just have to be really careful, extra careful, on the interaction between your non-enameled cast iron and your glass top on your stove. So I hope this was helpful, and I am going to hopefully do more of these live videos giving you guys excellent tips on how to use kitchen products at home. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.